We've got those angelics again. Um, but it's interesting the way they're showing up. So there's more than usual. Um, and more than usual means that the prime angelic, so the original, again, so in past episodes of the story of creation, they've explained the angelic stream. So the first stream of angelics, the second stream of angelics, how it works. And so the prime angelics, what they mean is the prime of any stream of conscious beings, right? Are the ones who are created first, right? Because there really is the concept of first. um, and what that means is it's the original creation that is then expanded on. It's then sort of built out, if you will. And so the prime are, it's interesting because the world we live in, they're showing me, it's like we're so trained that upgrades are better and upgrades are better and upgrades. But it's understanding, right? Like we're taught to discard the old versions. And what they want you to come back to, that primal understanding of existence itself, is the original being. So, for example, the first angelic created in the first stream of angelic. So he is the first being ever created besides the creator, right? So the creator in his universe, this is the first being he created. So he's a primal angelic. And ultimately, the primal beings understand existence the best. And it's not a competition. It's not better than anyone else. It's the best in the understanding that it's very primal. It's very simple. It's very clear, their understanding. It's not so much that it's okay. So it's really fascinating the way they're showing me. So the words they're using is basic from a universal perspective, right? But basic, what we've been taught in our world, is the entry point. It's the lowest, right? Like it's like when you want to join a membership, right? And they're like, here's your basic entry price, and you're going to get the least amount possible, right? And then it goes up in increments. Well, universal intelligence and existence doesn't work like that. So when that's what they're trying to clarify, that's why I'm sort of stumbling a little bit, is stumbling in my words, because as I'm seeing things, I'm like, oh, that goes exactly against society and how we've been trained and taught to think of things. So basic in universal terms means the clearest understanding possible of the actual foundation. Okay. So this is important. This is why the prime beings from each stream come in to help educate us so that we understand our origins. That's why they keep showing up. But today, what they're saying is we're going to go a little bit bigger. So if you've been following along in the story of creation, for the first, right, this is episode 142, but for the first 139 parts of the story, okay, the story of creation, they've been prime aspects of existence. Those are the primal beings. And we have talked about the basics. We've talked about molecular structure. We've talked about magnetic charge. We've talked about relationships and relation to one aspect of existence to another. We've talked about all of those things in the first 139 parts of the story. And then they did say that now going forward, 140 and on, we're going through a portal, is how they had first described it at the end of part 139. And there's a reason I'm giving you all this information now, because we are going deeper than we've ever gone, deeper than ever before. And ultimately what they're showing me is we're going deeper than humans have gone before. But in a different way. And I'm going to, well, they're going to explain it all as we go. And so today we don't only have primes, we have extenders, extensions of consciousness. So again, they're giving you the universal perspective of existence. Okay. So the prime beings are the ones that are originally created. And then once they're created, they realize, oh, we need this and we need this and we need this. So the next beings that are created, okay, have the full awareness of the prime beings, but they also have a different structure, a different molecular structure is the way they're saying it, that will facilitate a different aspect of existence. Okay. This is really, really important because what this means is this is where we begin to understand that humans have access to consciousness, all the information in existence, which we've talked about in many parts of the story of creation. But we don't all participate in the same way. We don't all participate in aspects of existence the way everyone participates because everyone doesn't participate the same, right? So this is one of the underlying aspects of misinformation, if you will, that the education system caused, right? So the education system has trained our brains to think everyone exists, learns, acts, participates the exact same way. And depending on your results, you'll be graded on it. Okay? Depending on your results and your performance, right? And so this is where we're going to rip that apart is kind of the feeling, right? It's like, when you have a bun, a dinner bun, and you're just like, I'm going to rip it apart and I want to see what's inside. Okay. Because we need to break down the pieces that have actually caused the mental anguish, pain, and suffering. You may not think you're experiencing pain and suffering on a regular basis, but if you're finding yourself thinking your way through the day, oh, I've got to do this. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, how does this work? Oh, what am I supposed to do here? Those are all questions that are not primal states of being. They're learned behavior. Okay. And so the beings that are here today, and this is really important because remember, in part 140 of the story of your creation, they did say that in the next 4 to 8 months, we're learning how to fly. Okay. So this is part 142. This is coming back. And it's understanding that what they're teaching today, what they're sharing is fundamental information if you want to learn how to fly in physical human form. This is not like, oh, energetically I can go fly, through the ethers. And we've been doing that for 20 years in my community. That is not new to us. That is something we do all the time. We explore, we journey, we do all of the different things. We're talking human physical beings flying around in the way that we fly, not in the way the birds fly or insects fly or airplanes fly. We're flying without any physical support. That's the other part. And so in order to do that, in order to accomplish that mission, these are the basic things that we need to learn. That's what we're doing for the next 4 to 8 months. Every single day we show up, every single time we record a new episode, we are literally learning about a new primal aspect of our existence that has been eradicated, removed, hidden, kept secret. Like it's just all of these different, right? So ultimately, I've said over and over again that they can't take away your gifts. They can't take away your abilities, but they can make you believe they don't exist. But what they can do and what they have done is they've trained your brain to think in a very specific way that limits your capacity to understand your own nature. Okay? So just think about that. Feel into that for a minute, right? If you've been trained strategically to really not be able to recognize your own nature. Okay. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? It looks like second guessing yourself. It looks like walking around having questions that you don't have answers to, that you're wondering about something, and or when you feel like you can't accomplish something, when you feel like you have limited resources, when you feel like you have limited access to people, situations, money. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's understanding that your belief system has been structured inside of a system that ensures, not wants to ensure, but it actually ensures your mediocrity, is the words that they're using, which is also really interesting. So what they want to explain today, and there's a whole bunch of them, so we're going to tighten this up a little bit more, because this is the first time also that there's been so many beings in one of the story of creation episodes. And when I say so many beings, there's about 4 billion angelics on the other side. I guess that's the best way to say it, in communication right now. So 4 billion angelics is a lot of angelics. But it's also understanding that we're in this phase, we're in this period of mass growth, right? And what is mass growth? It really is, it means that you're taking in so much new information every single day. And so what's happening is, we've been taught through the education system that that's learning. And I'm a big proponent of always learning, always learning, always learning. But what they're saying is it's about shifting how we learn. And how do you shift how you learn? You shift how you see things before you take in the information, right? So this is what's vital to our success as a human race right now. Because if you are taking in this information, right, the story of creation, from a belief system that says, I need to go outside of myself to learn, I need someone to teach me what to do, how to do it, when to do it, then you're not going to be able to reach the goal at the end. Because that is the education system model. It believes you don't know anything and that you're unintelligent. You don't have intelligence until other external information is brought into your space, into your mind, into your belief system, right? That's what your mind is. It's just, it's basically a file folder of all your beliefs, period. And so when you build that, the foundation on the concept of external learning, right? You won't actually be able to reach the goal of flying. So what they really want to share today is it's beginning to understand, and we've talked about this many, many times, that you have to feel the energy, right? Like I always, from the beginning, have encouraged you to feel the energy of what we're talking about over and over and over again. However, now we need to come back to this place that recognizes that the information that's being shared here, that I'm sharing from, again, today, it's 4 billion, right? Billions of angelics. Those are angels just hanging out here so that I can take the information that they have. And when there's so many, this is also important, right? How does that work? Like, how am I having 4 billion conversations at once? I'm not. When I first started, that's how they tried to all talk to me at once. And I was like, whoa, Nelly, this isn't going to work, because I can't literally do this 24 hours a day. And there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So, we worked together. And that's why I also don't call this channeling, because I don't show up without intention. I show up with clear intention and a focused participation to collaborate and contribute with the beings. It doesn't mean it's my perspective of things. It means I have to participate to allow and to learn to allow. There's that word again, learning, to learn to allow how the information can come through best. But it's not static information, right? Channeling is this concept where it's static information. Basically, you're just going into consciousness. You're saying, this is what I want to know. And you're allowing yourself to be a conduit for that information. It's fundamentally different than having a conscious conversation with universal beings, which is what we're doing. Okay. So these universal beings, these angelics that we have today, and I just have them here because energetically, that's how I feel them. I see them. They're just around everywhere. And so these beings they need to bring you back, okay, to the foundation that all we're doing in this entire series from part 1 is resurrecting the knowledge, the wisdom, and the awareness that's already inside of you. That's the whole point of this, right? It's changing what you've learned through the education system that limits you, that keeps you locked in and blocked, right? Blocked from your power, but it keeps you locked in these cycles of trauma and suffering and pain. And so it's actually really simple to go from inside that structure to a full conscious awareness, right? A full universal being. But it's understanding how to go from there to there. That's what they're doing today. Okay. So in order to do that, you have to come outside of your education system training, which is why the more education you have, right? The more degrees, the more time you've spent in education, the more challenging this is going to be for you, because those files, you have way more of them. They're more structured than anybody else because you've had more time and more learning and more dedication to crafting them so incredibly well so that you understand who you are and how things work in the universe. But it's understanding that you've been learning about society. So you're a great expert in society. And now we want to ensure that you become an expert in your origins, in existence itself, right? Because original humans had full awareness of, well, the cosmos, the universe itself, how existence works. Those are prime aspects that you can't participate in existence without understanding them. Your awareness is just dormant right now. And it remains hidden only because you focus on the education structure inside of your brain to give you the information you want. Whether you're looking it up on the internet, whether you're having conversations with other people, whether you're learning from experts on the subject in physical form, all of those reside inside the education system. And that's the whole point. The concept of an expert is in the education system, right? That's where that concept came from. If you have enough education, you can become an expert, right? If you have enough experience, you can become an expert, right? But now it's about asking yourself, where is that coming from? Where's your experience coming from? And this is going to be, this is one of the most challenging concepts for humans to grasp, yes, but to accept, because we don't want to believe that we are doing it wrong, is really what it comes down to. We don't actually want to believe we're doing it wrong. And here's the thing. Why don't we want to believe we're doing it wrong? Right. Inside that whole education system, right? We've been taught to perform. Make sure you do it right. If you do it right, you're going to get a gold star. You're going to get, 100 on your test. You're going to be graded. You're going to be marked. You're going to be praised when you get it right. Wow. Okay. And so what they're really talking about now and what they want you to really understand is existence is founded on what they talked about at the beginning of this episode. Every being that comes after another being has full awareness of that other being. And humans were the last to be created in this universe. The last. Just feel that. So inside of you is the intelligence of every angelic in existence, everyone, not only the prime, but all of them, right? Every planetary being, every plant being, universal being, all the ETs that people talk about that are part of, again, ETs from this universe, different planets, different experiences. There's so many out there. And then you also have ones that come from other universes. That's a different story. And we've talked about it a little bit before. So when a human comes into form, okay, right? You've been created as a soul first. So your soul intelligence, right, has full universal awareness, which original humans maintained in utero, right? During conception, in utero, and through the birth process. So they were 100% coming in to their physical world in fully conscious states of being. But here's the difference between then and now. They remained in a fully conscious state of being. Okay. So it's kind of like the way they're showing me, it's like, you go from a soul and it's like a slide, right? You slide down and you want to come into a human form and you're just like, oh, you go down the slide and bam, you have your human experience, but you're still in full conscious awareness. And what happens now is they've created this system of society. And for the most part, it means a soul has to get on the slide, knowing that once they come into human form, they're going to lose conscious awareness. They're going to lose it. It's going to remain hidden. And their job right now as a soul, right? This is what your soul knew coming into this life, is that your job now is to bring the conscious awareness back. Okay? And so knowing that, they come onto the slide, knowing that at any point in that slide, which is from conception, right, to birth, at any point, that consciousness is going to end. That full awareness of the full universal awareness, right? So your access to universal intelligence, however you want to say it doesn't really matter. What matters is it's understanding that you're not, right? You lose your intelligence based on the system. And so once you land here in Earth, right, on Earth, in a human body, okay, so the moment you land into a human body, you're already being conditioned. In gestation, this is not born, this is in gestation. Why? Because every single aspect of the person who is carrying you, the woman who's carrying you, is being fed energetically into you. Why? Because you're a conscious being. You pick up everything, right? Those people who walk around, they're saying, I am empathic. Every human is empathic. Every human's an empath, period. And so when you're in utero, you're picking up on everything and the conditioning begins. And so, it's interesting because the way they're showing me is this is where, so society, I always see it like a cube, right? It's like a block that, we can't get out of it. We're inside of a block, right? And so this is when it starts. The conditioning starts in utero, so that you're already putting this block around you, right? These are all the beliefs. And so what happens is your utero journey defines your, like, how you're going to come into this world. It defines your entrance, if you will, okay, into this human life. And as a result, so yes, you've already chosen your parents, you've already chosen your race, like all of these things. Obviously, if you choose your parents, you're going to choose your race, right? You're going to choose where you're going to live because, well, it's based on where they live. Like, it's not rocket science, right? It's really, really basic. And so now your utero experience has already conditioned you to stop believing in many things, to not trust yourself and all kinds of things. And now you as a soul have to define and decide how you're going to come into this life. So your actual birth experience is also defined by conditioning. 100%. It doesn't matter. And it's even, there's a lot of experiences, right? There's people doing live births or free births rather. And so they don't have any medical attention. They just are doing it on their own, with this belief that this is how humans did this. And here's the thing. For the most part right now, okay, humans are sort of flipping back and forth between this is what I know, this is what I understand, and this is what I feel. Because here's the other part. When you're thinking, okay, let's just look at childbirth as an example, okay? So childbirth and how humans come into the world. So think about the oldest nature that you can think of and how that happens, right? Because for the most part, the education system, again, goes back to ancient humans are archaic, right? They're doing this and it's not safe, and more, babies die all the time. You have to understand that caveman concept, that caveman archaic, right? Those beings were already conditioned. They were already inside the conditioning. Original humans didn't live anything like we live right now. Nothing. Zero. There was no such thing as clothes, food. There was not a kitchen to be found. There was not a dwelling to be found. We didn't use pots and utensils and plates and dishes. Like, we just didn't use anything like that. And so a lot of us are having a challenging time understanding and remembering our origins because we keep going back to, well, we lived in caves and, we lived at one with nature. If we didn't live in caves, but we had, huts in nature, and, we made our plates and our clothing from natural fibers and natural substances, and we cooked our food on the fire. But I'm talking, and this is what the universal beings, we're going way before all of that, before all of it. So we're going back all the way to the original intention of existence. And this is where you find the truth of how humans were created. But oftentimes our brains are like, but they didn't understand what we know now. They were archaic. They didn't get it. And then there's the other side, right? Where there's the spirituality aspect, and there's a lot of people who are looking at it as, okay, they were conscious beings and they were here participating in universal existence. And yet, when you think about participating in universal existence, think about where did those original beings live from a spiritual perspective? Where did they live? It's interesting because these are the illusions we have to break down in the next 4 to 8 months. It's going to be extremely challenging because we are inside of this society and the walls are so strong and so steep. Okay. This is not about taking all your clothes off and, stripping naked, having nothing with you, and then going to live in nature and living free off the land. Okay. Because guess what? Original humans did not live free off the land. Just let that sink in for a minute. Original humans did not live free off the land, right? Again, another archaic perspective. Why was that taught to us? Why was that whole concept taught to us in society? So we would want to own land, so we would want to own property, so that we would feel entitled to our sovereignty. Isn't that crazy? So what they're talking about is coming back to this place where we understand how we existed in existence. How did we participate? Because that primal relationship is the most important relationship in existence. How did you, as a human soul, exist in relationship to existence itself? That's what we're resurrecting over the next 48 months. It's not, oh, how can I fly now, and do all of the things in this world, in this society. But when you begin to understand that we need to go outside of society and society's rules to understand this, then you will be able to do it. This is how it works. Okay. And so this is not like, gosh, this is not about mindfulness or mind training or meditation, going into a meditative state to get to this level of consciousness, because that's not, again, how humans were originally created. We just did it. We didn't have to go into an altered state of being or alter our minds. And so that's why, right? People often will say it's channeling when they get messages. You're not channeling. Well, sometimes you are. If you're just getting the information from consciousness, you're channeling consciousness. It's brilliant. It's easy. Every human can do this. We just forgot how. But what we're doing is we don't want to actually channel. Channeling information means it's already happened. It's not happening. Consciousness is a record of everything that happened already. Okay? So it's not active. And to expand consciousness, you have to be in the present. You can't be in things that have already happened, right? The whole concept of existence itself and why humans exist, why any being exists, is to expand existence itself, which is recorded by consciousness. But if you want to expand it, you can't be in consciousness. So I know this is a lot of information today, and I know we're getting bigger and we're going outside the box so far. And it's important to understand that because we're going so far out, this is where the concepts get really, really simple, because universal existence is very simple. It's very clear and easy to understand. If it's complicated, it's inside society. It's inside the conditioning of the human mind. Okay? So ultimately, what they want you to look for this week, what they want you to participate in, is understanding and recognizing how you associate with everything. What is your actual relationship? Okay. So wherever you live, what's your relationship with your home? Is it the place that you feel safe, where you feel relaxed, where you feel, where you can do anything? Maybe it's the place where family comes together. Okay. But it's understanding that a home is not a part of original existence. It's not. The whole concept of a physical place in order to do these things is going to be part of your challenge. It's part of looking at how to break these systems down. Okay. This is going to trigger a whole bunch of questions about everything. We don't need you to leave everything yet because you don't understand it, and it's not about leaving it. It's about changing your relationship with it, okay? Why? Because when you change your relationship with the way you think, right? This is what we're doing. We're changing the relationship because right now your foundation is based on the beliefs inside of this structure that say this is the way things are and this is the way things exist and this is how things happen. We need you to go outside of that and come back to original existence. And if you're not willing to even introduce, or what's the word, to I don't know. It's the word is right there. It's on the tip of my tongue. It won't come. But if you're not even willing to, consider, that's that word. If you're not even willing to consider going outside of that society, right? That societal belief system box, right? That says, wait a minute, what is my relationship with a home? What does that even mean? Then this isn't going to be for you. This is for the people who go, wait a minute. Okay, I want to learn. I want to understand. Because primal existence, right? The original intention of existence, that's primal existence. It doesn't have any limits. And right now, your entire human existence is based on limits. We have to break up with all of them. You can see, you can just feel that, right? In order to fly, there has to be no limits there. None. Nothing. This isn't just, is it going to look silly to other people? Are they going to think I'm crazy? This is understanding that if you don't recognize that as a soul, when you come in to a human life, you're literally arriving with full universal intelligence. If you haven't even recognized that yet, then you're not going to be able to make it to the flying. Okay? So I'm not saying you're going to have access to the full concept of universal intelligence right away, right? Because that takes time. What does that do? It means you're breaking up with every single belief, those files in your head, you're breaking up with them all the time. That's ultimately what I've done for the last 22 years, doing this consciously. That's all it's been. How do I keep going? How do I keep learning more? Because I keep understanding what I've been doing to block universal intelligence from coming out of me, from my, access to the universe. That's all I'm doing, right? That's all we are all doing. That's why I say we are all empaths, because we are all designed to feel energy. That's what empathic is. You feel energy from other people, from experiences, from situations. And it's your ability. So the concept, even the term empathic, right? It's the concept of understanding how to process the energy. Because right now, we've been trained to process everything, right? We've been programmed to process everything through our minds. And so all of a sudden, something feels off to you, and your brain goes, oh, okay, how do we deal with something that feels off? Instead of going, why does that feel off? And feeling deeper. We don't do that. We simply go right into, this is where I need to protect myself. This is where I need to, keep this person and set some boundaries and blah, 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 blah. It's always the other person's fault. It's always the other people you're protecting yourself from, keeping yourself safe. That's a problem. That's inside societal belief systems. It's not original existence, because original existence doesn't have boundaries. It doesn't need boundaries. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing in your vicinity. And that's the point, is if you're the person that goes, but what about this person? They keep doing this to me. You won't learn how to fly, because you're still looking at yourself as a victim. That's society. If they can keep us thinking we're all victims, and we're all going to feel sorry for ourselves, we won't accomplish the things we came here to accomplish. So what they're saying and what they want you to do is look at your primal relationships. Look at your primal relationship to food. Look at, and when I say primal relationship to food, okay, look at the concept of what you crave, right? We've been taught cravings are deficiencies, but what if they're not? What if a craving means your body is clearing it out? Your cells are like, no, this doesn't go in here, and we can't eliminate it naturally. So we're going to bring it to your awareness. What if that's what a craving actually is? Right? I mean, we've been trained about superfoods and supplements and all of these things to keep putting them in our body. And none of that is how humans were created. The whole concept of you need 3 meals a day, you need to fuel your body with food to survive. What happens? Okay, this is the important part. Whether it's your home, food, relationships, what a relationship is supposed to look like, all of these different things, your beliefs around them are shaping how you exist in the world. Okay? So if you are being conditioned when you're in utero about 3 meals a day and eating this and eating that, right? Like, let's say your mother gets what's that, nausea, morning sickness when she's pregnant, okay? And so whatever she does to eliminate that symptom, okay, is now programmed into your conditioning. So we either look for a prescription, we don't eat this, we do eat this, doesn't matter. But 99% of the time, it is understanding that they're fixing a symptom. They're not going to the heart and the root of the actual experience itself. Okay. So I know this sounds complicated because of the way we've been trained to learn. But really, you're just remembering. And we're stripping away all the things you need to forget. And that's why it's uncomfortable, because your brain is like, but I don't want to forget all the stuff that I know, because those are the things that keep me safe. They keep me educated. They keep me at my level in the world, in society, how people see me. So if you start to strip back who you be in the world, you're worried that you're going to lose your place in the world, in society. Okay? And ultimately, that's what you're going to have to do in order to learn how to fly. In order to learn, because after we fly, we're going to be doing all kinds of other things that are all primal to our universal nature as souls. And this is the first one. Look at your relationship to your belief system, right? So how do you relate to your home? Why did you buy it in the first place? Why did you pick it? Why did you rent it? Why did you choose the way you're living? Maybe you live on the road, you live in a vehicle on the road. It doesn't matter. No one is better. No one is, maybe you live in a hut in the middle of the forest. Maybe you live on an island somewhere. It doesn't really matter where you live. Maybe you don't have a personal residence. Maybe you travel from one residence to another. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is your relationship to why you chose that in the first place. Okay? So even if you're homeless, per se, okay, you chose that experience for a reason. And I know your brain is like, oh, I didn't choose this. This happened to me. I need you to feel this for a minute, okay? Where you are is a reflection of your relationship with that aspect of your life. And what we're doing is we're breaking it wide open so that you can see and understand the more innate aspects of it that you've been trained to think. I feel like, okay, I feel like I haven't explained it well enough. And yet they're like, nope, this is good. So what we want to do at this point is, I'm going to encourage you, ask questions in the comments, okay? If you have a specific relationship with your home or how you're living and you can't figure out your relationship, you can't understand it, put it in the comments. This is honestly where I personally am best, is when I'm working one-on-one with a person and their soul, and they can say, okay, this is the exact information. Put it in the comments, and I'm going to start to give you feedback. Why do we do it in the comments, not email? If you send me personal private messages, I will not answer. Okay? It's very important, because this is about humanity coming back to participating freely. And when you ask a question in the comments, it means every person participating, every person watching, they can learn too. It doesn't make any sense for me to reply to an email from you. Zero. Because then only person that sees that is you. I know that a lot of people are like, but my situation is sensitive. Stop. Stop, because that's your relationship with that as well. Your safety, your whatever it is. It's coming back to the place that says, this is my situation. This is what I've created. And I want to understand it more intimately from a universal perspective, so I can understand how to expand and come back to the universal perspective. Okay? This is a big one, guys. And it's going to take a lot of effort. But I also know that that's how we have to go forward. This is the next step. So you're looking at your relationships to the aspects of your life that they're not good. It's not about being good or bad. It's just understanding that you're not even conscious of the relationships you have. You're like, oh, I want this because it makes me feel this way and it makes me happy and it makes me, calm. That's not what we're talking about. We're going back to the primal reasons that you chose that experience. It's bigger. Okay? This is good. This is big. I'm Michelle Vickers. I will see you next time on the Authentic Human podcast. And it'll be part 143 of the story of creation. But for now, this is 142. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.